Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Kia's quick and dirty guide to Medellin. This is not going to be the ultimate guide. This isn't the definitive guide. This is my recommendations, my perspective on the city as a white guy gringo, now after living in Medellin for about a year and a half, and I love this city. If you want my recommendations on good place to eat, different apartments, etc., I'll have my Google Maps, all of my locations saved in the description below. I'm gonna have each of these categories linked up below in the timestamps, but let's start with price, because a lot of people want to know about price. Price for a place in Medellin. If you're in Poblado, that's going to be much more expensive. If you're in Laureles, it's a different story. I love Laureles. It's a little bit more flat, a little bit more key, a little bit more chill. A little bit north of Laureles is my favorite spot. It's called Estadio. It's like a residential neighborhood. It's near the stadium. This is my favorite place. A little bit more low key, a little bit chiller. There's a lot more apartments available for a decent price. You're still next to food. You're a little ways outside of Laureles, but not super far. But if you want to be like in the action, you're going to be in Poblado, and that might cost you a little bit more. Those apartments, for less than $1,000, you can get something decent. You can get a nice 1-bedroom, you can get a studio, but it's not gonna be bad. In Laureles, you can probably get a nice studio for, I'd say, $400 to $600. I was paying, I think, $515 for a nice 1-bedroom in Estadio. The Estadio is gonna be a little bit cheaper too. There are also some neighborhoods around Laureles that are gonna be cheaper as well. When it comes to food, a decent meal, like a Colombian meal, is probably gonna be a couple bucks. $1, $2, $3 probably. If you're just like eating in one of these like homey spots on the corner, a lot of times they have what is called a like menu del dia, which is kind of like the menu of the day, where it's like a set menu. She just serves you, a simple meal. The food, it's not bad, but it's not anything that's really gonna blow your hair back most of the time. It's gonna be rice and beans, maybe some plantains, an avocado, some sort of meat. Keeps you rocking and rolling. It's good, it's simple, it's healthy, but it's different for me than Mexican food, where I'm like, oh my God, I'm like drooling and can't wait. For me, Colombian food is good, but it doesn't have the same kind of flair that a lot of Mexican food, to me, personally has. No offense, Colombians. I love y'all's country. You know what I'm talking about. I would say in Medellin, you can get away with less than $1,500. $2,000 a month is probably pretty safe. You can live really well on that as a gringo foreigner and kind of expect all your typical kind of accommodations and quality of life, etc. Let's talk to people. One of the main reasons why I love Medellin is the people. They're called paisas. They're some of the kindest people I've ever met in my entire life. But paisas, incredibly kind. They're gonna wanna help you. They'll like wait for you to cross the street. It feels like one big neighborhood. I haven't spent a ton of time in Poblado, so I can't say that for sure, but in Laureles, in Estadio, other places, it really starts to feel, you can like kind of integrate into the community. People will look out for you. Again, this is my experience as a foreigner, as a white guy. Paisas are probably some of the most kind people I've ever met in my entire life, just in terms of them being outgoing, them being helpful, them being warm. Let's talk transportation. So getting around the city, you can use Didi, you can use Uber, you can use Cabify, you can use InDriver. There's like a zillion different apps. I usually just use Didi and Uber, and that gets me where I need to go for the most part. And those are gonna be a couple bucks for a trip. $1, $2, $3, $4, maybe $5 if it's a little bit ways out of the city. The drivers aren't gonna try to scam you. They show up. Using these taxi services in Medellin is part of the reasons why I love the city. It's just super easy to get around. It's also very flat, not in Poblado. In Poblado, super hilly, but in Laureles, Estadio, it's super flat. So I just bought a bicycle for $80, and then boom, I was just whipping around on my bike. If you want to go from Poblado to Laureles, it's pretty easy, won't take you too long unless it's during rush hour. That will probably take you 30 minutes to an hour, just because there's like this one main vein that connects most of the city that way. But for the most part, I haven't had any problems getting around the city. Another big piece about Medellin that people are always asking about is safety. And this is a very real concern. I haven't had any problems. I haven't experienced anything. I've been around late at night, walking around by myself. If you're staying in Poblado, it's probably gonna be a higher risk, because that's where people know that the wealthy people live. When people are looking for an opportunity, that's probably gonna be where they're at. Estadio, it's like well lit, big sidewalks. Just you keep your eyes and your ears open, right? I think for me, safety comes down to not being an idiot, luck of the draw, and making smart decisions. Like, if you've been out drinking, take a taxi home. There are pieces about just being prepared, not putting yourself in vulnerable situations, that comes with learning how to travel, learning how to maneuver in these cities. So that is a piece of it. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna wrap this up with my final score. Overall, what would I give Medellin out of 10? I'd give it a 9. We're not going 1 point off the top because of safety, just because, yes, that is a concern. That's very real. I'm not going to pretend like it isn't. So, you know, that's kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. I've always felt pretty secure, but I know that's very real. But that is one piece of maybe why not a 10. 2, no beach. I really like water. And again, that's a Kia's knock on it. Like, if you're not a beach person, then it doesn't really matter. In terms of overall, like, the weather is amazing. The people are kind. Another reason why it might not be a perfect 10 is because of the food. Like I said, there are great options, but it's different than like a Mexico, you know, or a Thailand, where it's just like, again, Colombians, don't come for me. You know I love your country. You know I love your city. A strong 9, great infrastructure, amazing weather. There's not a lot of like bugs because there's a lot of bats, I think. This is, maybe I sound like a crazy man, but man, so much to love about Colombia, so much to love about Medellin in general. If you're checking it out, stop debating and go there. Again, like I said, on my Google Maps link linked up below. Don't judge me for the shady spots. It is what it is. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll check you on the next one. Peace.